how many were in your class and who was it when you were in grade school? Who was?
3 of us.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Who was it?
Wayne, Stefan, and Dick By, and myself.
Okay.
And then before the year was up, I think another guy came, and that was Lester Schmidt, which is
Oh, part of the Schmidt.
Ralph Schmidt's brother.
Was that at Central Howell?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize you and Wayne Steffen went back that far.
Yeah.
Huh. That's neat. Talk about, so also talking about kind of going back and forth with your cousins and friends and stuff like that. What were the roads like? Are you talking gravel roads?
Yeah.
Were they all gravel roads around here?
Sure. Gravel right in front of our house forever. We thought we were the left out because we were the last one to get a gravel road in, but hers still got us take the cake because they still have a gravel road there.
Yeah.
It's the only one in the country left. The other one was where Jack Long lives on that Sism Road back there.
Oh.
And I think it's paved now, is it? Or
Schism?
It's been on there for a while. Maybe
Schism?
Oh, the road off of Schism, I think.
Yeah, Chisholm Road.
I think it's paved.
Growing up, when you're, young, what sort of chores and what sort of things were you responsible for around the farm or around the house?
I don't know, I guess that's why it didn't amount to nothing.
What do you mean by that?
Boy, that's a real disclaimer.
Yeah.
Oh, we had chickens, we had cows, 4 cows, and, I don't know, a dozen chickens or
Uh-huh.
more, probably more than that. And the chicken house, yeah, because we had to clean the, Shirley got in on that some too, cleaning the chicken house.
Yeah.
Dad was pretty good to us. I mean, to me, I think, because I milk cow. I milk the cow when cows. He had 4 or 5 of them there for a while, and that
Wow.
took a lot, but I was only in the 1st grade or something when they had those, and I don't know what grade I was in when they finally got rid of them all, but it's probably the 4th or 5th grade.
Ah.
And other chores like cleaning the cow barn and stuff. We had some pigs, so some of the time, not all the time.
You
And
probably had to make wood, didn't you?
no,
You didn't use wood to heat or cook or
yeah, I made
anything?
a little bit of wood, but Dad had a pretty good stack out there. But he, in the wintertime, he would grub with a horse and that had a long post on it and then the horse would walk around the thing with a winch. It was turning a winch,
Okay.
and then you could pull over some pretty good trees with that.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Huh. And so you had a couple horses growing up?
4.
Did you really? I just don't understand the layout of how the farm was back in that day. where you had that old barn where a big barn is right now, or big shed.
Yeah.
There was an old barn, and I'm assuming that's where you kept some of the livestock. Is that right?
We had a farm lot there that held 4 horses, and probably four cows or so usually. And straw stack out in the middle of the lot back there, and there in the winter time was pretty neat for protecting themselves.
Oh, okay.
Haystack.
Did they kind of make a wedge around it, shelter around the edge?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
What, kind of along those lines, what pieces of property did your dad farm back in those days?
The one he was grubbing, well, taking the woods off,
Okay.
was that 3-corner piece in the bottom, across the ditch down there.
Oh, really?
Oh,
That's
down
really
by
the-
Squire's place, on the other side of the ditch down there? That 3-corner piece,
Yeah.
kind of,
Below the swale
oh, okay.
now.
So there were trees in there at one time?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then we grubbed other places too. Before that, I don't remember much about.
So what fields did he actually farm during the summertime? Did your dad have around your house?
He had the 100 acres there around our house, or what, 113 or something. And then he had the Pratton place. In my earlier years, he had earlier years. Oh, I know, as we come over here, corn rows along the road at Butler's. That'd be right out here. Man, that would be a half a mile long or something. And we Shirley and I both would take one of the horses and clod mash corn, they called it.
What does that
What's
mean?
that?
Clod, huh?
What is, yeah, I don't understand what that is.
It's good. You walk the horse through the rows of corn.
Okay,
And the little sleds, just as wide as you could dare have, would take, and with knives on the bottom of it, would take out weeds in between the rows.
You'd almost cultivate it in a sense.
Yeah.
really?
Huh, clod mash.
How close were the
Actually,
rows
we
to?
had a corn cultivator too, though. You do that until the corn got too
Too
high,
tall.
and then we'd always drag, at least once a year, drag it down and cut off the weeds. and
So how
stuff.
close together were the rows to get a horse down through there?
42 inches.
You were lucky, you got to do it with a horse, I had to do it with a hoe.
We did a little of that too.
I'm sure.
42 inches. Wow.
And
So your horse would always go straight? He wouldn't
By
mash the...
that time,
Go
the
to sleep
corn was
from
pretty
one
tall.
end of the road to the other. Let the horse go.
Walk himself.
Well, he's watching.
Is that something that you would walk behind him, or you were riding on
Right
it?
on the-
You were riding on it.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't have to steer because the corn was keeping him where he was supposed to go? Huh, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
you had reins on the horse, didn't you?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Well,
have
yeah.
reins
To
on the
turn
horse.
and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, but
especially-
we didn't really need the reins while we were going in the
Down the road, huh?
How old were you when you were doing that?
Yeah.
I don't know, I suppose I was 11 or 12.
Okay.
Probably before that, 10 maybe, I
Right. Pretty young.
And so, just, I need to wrap my head around it. When you're talking 100 some acres around the farm, you're basically talking our blackberries. About
don't know. 100, what was
Yeah,
there on
that's
this?
a whole
one
that
place,
piece there.
106
Uh-huh.
or something.
And then when you're talking the Prattle piece, are you talking this ground out here? And like the blueberries into the grass across from Butler's and stuff?
That. And this was a Hatterberg place, or.
Okay.
But you bought that, didn't you? Your dad didn't buy the Hatterberg place. You bought it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
At some point, I don't think we're going to get to it tonight because I want to ask you a lot more questions about your family and parents and stuff like that. But at some point, I want you to map out a history of the farm and kind of how that went. I just think that would be really interesting. But
Doesn't Jeff have a plat of all of it? Haven't I seen a plat?
Sure.
And then-
Yeah,
I think if Jerry had that, then he could,
kind of put some dates and
yeah,
times.
put some
yeah,
things on
that'd
it.
be a good thing to do. Yeah. What other farm chores was kind of your responsibility?
You mean when was it? When did it become my responsibility?
No, what farm chores? You're talking about mashing. What did you
Corn
call it?
mesh.
Corn mash. And what other responsibilities were yours growing up? Or what kind of jobs did your dad have you do around the farm?
Well, Dad, I guess I always grew up thinking he had the first tractor. It was an old John Deere D, and I remember it.
By the first tractor, you mean the first
Right.
tractor in the area,
I
or?
remember when they delivered it almost.
Was it it was a lug, on lugs, or
Yes.
was it on rubber?
Yeah, well,
Lugs, yeah, that's what our first one was too.
Huh.
and
What other jobs were you doing?
So I was always waiting, wanting to get on that thing
Oh.
as a kid, and ride or whatever. But
Sure.
I was way too young when that must have been when I was about. It was before grade school even.
Huh.
I think.
So he had that tractor, but at the same time, he was still farming with horses
With
too,
horses, yeah.
for some jobs. Okay.
We did the same thing because you could get on some of the ground if it was damp with horses. You
Right.
couldn't
Or you could with that heavy
with
tractor.
Heavy tractors, you couldn't.
Talk to me about your dad a little bit. What was your dad like?
Well, I always did think he had some smarts up here, and
What makes you say that? What
well, he
gave you
had
confidence in that?
one place. He was a Bible teacher. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he was how he had the knowledge, I don't know, except that I'd see him reading the Bible a lot. And he studied, and he took our Hope magazine, which was a Christian magazine that had really authentic authors, but anyway, he taught class at church for years. And probably he taught the people that was in his class when they were, I wouldn't say kids, but then when they were young adults until old age. And that was a strong point of him, I think. It's too bad more of it didn't rub off on me, but
Oh, come on.
hey, really, because well, he'd spend sometimes hours across the fence over by the church, or talking to Bill Revere or whoever was pastor there at that time. They were pretty good friends, and just realizing what the word is, what is it really saying?
Huh.
Did he love farming?
Huh?
Did he really like to farm?
Yeah, I think so. That's all he really knew. He and his brothers were, I think they started out with pretty close to the same acreage, and yeah.
Where did they get their acreage from? Was that something that their father kind of split up and said, here's your allotments, or were they all just out there buying their own land?
Yeah, I wish I knew. I don't know. That. Boy, he had. Well, I remember that place on down the three-cornered piece there, and the used to be square piece. The guy that owned that then rode, had him, oh no, I don't want to say it. Oh, I remember one time he spent a couple hours over the fence post talking to this guy. The guy was trying to sell him that piece for, but I can't think anymore how much it was. I know it probably wasn't over $300 an acre. And, but he never jumped at it, and
What other, do you remember your dad hobbies or things that he enjoyed doing? Did sports, or I'm trying to think of
yeah,
other things that he might have enjoyed.
he liked baseball.
Oh, did he?
Or I don't know whether that was softball or I think it was hardball, baseball at that time. And they had, Central Howell had a pretty good team, Prattam had a pretty good team. And he was always interested in a good baseball game.
Huh.
He liked to travel when he could, but his dad didn't. Well, they took one pretty good trip every year or two, I don't know. Well, a lot of it was like going to the church conferences,
Oh.
which could have been clear as back as far as South Dakota.
Sure.
Is that while you were growing up and you would go with them? The whole family would go?
I was in high school when they did some of that.
Must not have been during summer, during farming time. It had to be during the winter or during the fall or
It
something.
was
Spring.
early spring, I think.
What crops did your dad grow primarily? What was I suppose everybody grew the same.
Wheat, oats, barley,
Right.
Corn.
corn.
Talk about, I wish I had a specific question, but your mother, I obviously knew her, I never got to know your dad, but talk about your mom. What was her personality like? Yeah, start there.
She was a pretty happy lady. She and Christina, well, and Verna too. Verna was out in Harold's mom. She involved herself with ladies groups at church. I think she was a pretty happy lady.
Did she get involved in farming at all? Did she help in the farming activities?
She'd hoe corn. And
But harvest, any
I don't remember her ever driving a horse team though. I don't know.
Okay.
Not that much.
What?
Did your dad farm by himself, or did he have a hired hand? Or did he farm by himself until you got old enough to help, or did he have hired hands?
The four brothers had a thrash machine.
Yeah.
It was the biggest
I've seen
one
pictures.
in the country. And they would do custom thrashing. They thrash their own first,
Uh-huh.
4 different places. And then any, I guess, I don't know, I don't really remember.
They run that off.
Them farming, them thrashing other people, but they did some. I know they did a couple neighbors. But it was mostly their own.
So did they help each other out in other aspects of farming too? If they
No.
needed help with something, they would call their brother, or vice versa, or I just wondered if they had a lot of hired hands like we do
Yeah.
today.
When the brothers helped, it was during baling and harvest season.
Okay.
They run that thrashing machine off of your dad's Model D, or is that right?
After, yeah.
Is that what they would use to power that thing, or are you talking
They had
before that?
They had a steam engine.
Oh, did they?
There's pictures of that around, but I don't, not much of that we have, I don't think. But I think there is 1 or 2 that we have. But he ran the steam engine. I mean, he looked after it because you had to keep fire in it. It's a big job.
How do you do that and not start your field on fire?
They probably did start it on fire.
I don't know, they didn't, the thrash machine wasn't in the field at our place, it was out in the pasture, well, we had a separate shed for it, but they would haul, with wagons, haul the bundles of grain into the thrashing machine. Is that the way they did it for years?
Yeah, but whichever, if you had a big field somewhere, you'd be out in the
You
middle.
do it out in the field, we
Yeah.
never did.
I've seen pictures of it out in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
I don't know where I've seen the pictures, but I know I've seen the pictures and, yeah, so you didn't have to haul up the bundles as far, I suppose. Huh. Here's a weird question, Jerry. Are you more like your mom's dad or your dad's dad? Are you more like Grandpa Logan Bill? Or are you more like Grandpa Roth?
Grandpa Roth.
You are?
Why would you say that?
Well, I think probably partly because of the families around us. This all, well, we had a few Loganville ones, but it was mainly the Roth families that I associated with, all Clifford and Dale.
Right. But like your personality and your looks, you're more of you look more like a Roth than a Logan Bill, or your personality is more like a Roth or a Logan? Maybe that's not even a fair question. I just wondered if you've ever thought about it.
Yeah, I'd say Roth, but
Uh-huh.
Logan Bill, Mom's brothers, she had 4. How many sisters did she have? She had 2 brothers, and 4 sisters or something. And those boys, well, they were a little younger, I guess. Just one of her brothers, yes, maybe 2 of them were in the service, in the war.
Hmm.
Of course, Dad had the Roth boys were all in the First World War.
Right.
And they all made it out of the war, right? Is that correct?
They got out of it.
All of them survived the war.
Yes, they did.
Obviously.
What kind of toys did you play with when you were growing up?
I like motorcycles.
Did you?
Oh,
I had a scooter. I had a Popular Science magazine, and where I got that idea. Boy, that's what I want to get. So I don't know how I did it, but I think it cost $100 for a motor for a bicycle.
oh wow.
I that was a pretty popular thing around by
So
then.
You could buy a motor and actually put it on your bicycle?
Yeah.
Oh.
Put a pulley on the spokes. I mean, a big pulley on the spokes. It was about as big as a tire was.
That'd have been a sight to see.
That would have been fun to see that.
I wish I'd have kept it.
Right.
Did you ever get into any kind of trouble?
Oh, sure.
What kind of things do you remember your parents kind of getting on your case for?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see.
You and Marv Williams never got me in
One
trouble,
time
did
I
you?
shot Shirley with a BB gun.
Do you remember why? Or the circumstances?
She'll bring that up. She always brought that up.
Yeah, that was one of the first things she told me.
I don't know, we're just playing around and shooting. Oh, if I pulled this trigger, I wouldn't hit you. And bam, didn't hurt her, except
No.
a good sting.
Right.
But it wasn't a good idea. And I broke a kitchen window once with a ball.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't think I was too hard on folks.
What kind of a student were you? What kind of subjects did you enjoy in school?
Well, I took ag, which you don't. I don't know. I guess they still got ag programs, so.
Yes.
I didn't like social studies, so I didn't. That left me kind of out, and I didn't like English very well either. And, but I like more of the technical stuff. Woodworking class and typing. I like typing.
Oh, really?
Did you?
Yeah, although I haven't made use of it a lot.
We'll have to get you a typewriter.
I did type some with Patty on when I lived in San Francisco.
Yeah, I used to send me notes,
Huh?
emails.
And I felt like I was, man, how could I remember this?
Oh, interesting.
How that stays with you. When did you, well, maybe you want to finish on subjects.